So when food leaves the stomach, where does it go? Well, it goes into the small intestine. But what specific region of the small intestine does it enter? Well, notice that the first region is called the duodenum. This is a strange name because many in the medical field will say duodenum. You can say either duodenum or duodenum, either one, but say one or the other. What are the other two regions called?
Look at the diagram on page 791
and the next slide on the Q drive. Notice the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. Man, is that a mouthful. Duodenum, jejunum, and ileum, or duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. Sounds like you're stuttering when you say that jejunum. So the duodenum is short, and the ileum by far is the longest region. It is in the small intestine that we encounter the interesting anatomy of the villi and microvilli.
See page 792 in your text.
These structures are microscopic folds that greatly increase the surface area of the small intestine to facilitate the absorption of digested food molecules. Remember, in the body, surface area is the name of the game. Let's take a look again at the duodenum. It is here that the digestive system interacts with the liver and the pancreas. You've already learned about the pancreas's endocrine function. And now you can review the pancreas's anatomy
by turning to page 803 in your text
and learn the structures listed in your lab objectives. Next, let's turn to the liver and its digestive function.
You can learn its anatomy by turning to page 798 of your textbook.
Turn there now. One of the two tracings in this unit is to trace bile from the liver into the small intestine. This tracing is listed on the Q drive, and you can follow it along in the excellent diagram
on page 801 of your textbook.
Bile is produced by hepatocytes in the liver and is collected into the left and right hepatic ducts. These join to form the common hepatic duct, which flows to the cystic duct. If bile is needed directly because of the consumption of a fatty meal, it will flow down the common bile duct. But during non-digestion, bile will flow up the cystic duct to be stored in the gallbladder. When bile is needed, it is pushed out of the gallbladder by muscular action, back down the cystic duct to the common bile duct. It then flows past the opening of the pancreatic duct to enter a short region called the, are you ready? The hepatopancreatic ampulla. Can we say that? Hepatopancreatic ampulla. Used to be known as the ampulla vater. Too bad they changed it from the guy's name to the more descriptive hepatopancreatic ampulla. Bile enters the duodenum of the small intestine. Thus, the duodenal papilla, that's the opening into the small intestine. So there you have the tracing of bile from the liver into the duodenum of the small intestine. What's bile used for? Why do we produce bile? I mentioned something about a fatty meal. Well, what do you know about fats and water? What do you know about oil and water? Yeah, that's right. It doesn't mix. So bile is a way of facilitating that. It's kind of like a detergent in our digestive system. It emulsifies that fat, allows it to form small globules, allows it to sort of dissolve within the fluid of the small intestine. And these small globules are able to be digested by the enzymes more readily, rather than having big chunks of fat in which you'd have a very small surface area to volume ratio. So bile is important when you eat fatty meals. Do you have to have the gallbladder? Well, the gallbladder just stores bile, so you actually don't really need it. It's just that you would have a continuous production of bile, and it would go straight into the small intestine. And then it's no big deal. It'll either get digested or pushed out the other end. So people who have gallbladder problems, like gallstones, might have their gallbladder removed to relieve the symptoms of gallbladder disease. Are you following this along on the diagrams in your textbook and on the models, the photos of those models on the Q drive? I hope you are. Next, we're going to look at the home stretch, the large intestine.